Hi, this is Paul from England speaking with Katia from Mexico. First question is, do you give money to charity?
Well, Paul, it's a difficult question because you really want to help people, but I always question myself where if the money really gets to where it's supposed to go. So personally, I rarely do give money to charities. I would rather give my time, so I know if it's actually something happening. What about you?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. If it's a registered charity, then I don't see there's a problem really with giving a donation.
Yeah, I guess so, but really I wonder. There are so many charities in the world, and you wonder really how much money do the people actually get, so it's difficult to really know.
How about if you are walking down the street and you see a homeless person asking for money?
Homeless people. That's also difficult because you can see they need money or they need food. Sometimes I feel if you give money, you are supporting their way of life, so I would rather give some food so they can eat. But maybe if it's a disabled person, I am more willing to give, rather than just the homeless.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's difficult to know what they are going to use the money for, so usually I never give money to men, but if it's like an elderly woman, I am happy to give a small donation.
Why not men and only women?
Well, going back to what you said about supporting their way of life, I mean, not in every case, but I think that often it can just be man's choice to be homeless on the street, and he does have a chance to get a job, I think.
So you think the woman really does not have a choice, and the man?
I think it's more difficult for a woman.
Possibly. That's a difficult question.
For sure. Do you give money if you see children on the street?
Well, it depends, because that's also giving money to children so they can continue asking for money, so I avoid it. I also avoid it. What about you?
I am a little bit reluctant to give money. I heard in a lot of poor countries that it can actually even be a business, like a parents will send their children onto the street.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Okay, so maybe you like what you said before. It's better to donate your time than to donate money.
Possibly. And hopefully things will change.
So, Jonathan, what is home for you? Where is home for you?
Where is home for me? Actually, I would have to say that I'm homeless.
Homeless. What do you mean homeless?
Well, I don't call one particular place home. I pretty much live out of a suitcase. I don't have roots holding me to one particular place. I was born and raised in Toronto, but from a very young age I was traveling for different purposes, some for the work that I was doing, some for just pleasure travel, and even now when I go back to Toronto, it does not really feel like home. In fact, people comment about my accent, and they say, "Oh, that's an interesting accent. Where you are from?" And I say, "Well, I'm from here."
So where do you split most of the majority of your time? Where's your base?
Well, I don't really have a base. That's the thing. I spend about 4, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, months in Japan, and I usually visit my parents for about a month a year, sometimes in Canada where they spend spring, summer, and early autumn, and sometimes in the small little town in Mexico that they like to go to avoid the harsh Canadian winter.
So, you and, in between those times, in between Mexico, in between Canada, in between Japan, where are you?
Wherever I sort of feel like going. Now I don't draw the kind of salary that allows me to live a glamorous lifestyle and travel around the world with the jet set, but I can certainly go and spend several months a year in different destinations, living a very basic existence but having enough time to be able to travel around and stay in simple accommodation, go out and hit the bars at night, talk to the people I meet in those different areas. At different times I have different interests.
So that sounds like a pretty exciting, pretty fun life. Do you ever get tired of it?
I think that it's the kind of life that does not appeal to everyone, and some people think I have this wonderful, fantastic life all the time. Sometimes, I would like to work a little bit more. Sometimes, I think, oh no. I have nothing to do for the next 3 months.
Except for travel.
Yes. And as of now, this work that I am about to do finishes in a couple of days, and people have asked me, where am I going afterwards, and my honest answer is I don't know. I literally have no idea where I am going to be 4 or 5 days from now, and I have no idea what I shall be doing for the next 3 months until I need to be back in Japan for work 3 months from now.
Well, good luck on your next trip.
Thank you.
So, Lindsay, do you like to text message a lot on your cell phone?
Yeah, actually, I text message a lot.
I don't do it so much. Sometimes I prefer to just call someone on the phone if I'm in a hurry.
Yeah, I go both ways. Sometimes I know I don't really want to talk to the person. I just want to ask them one question. So it's so much easier for me just to text them and say, "Are you going to the party tonight?" for example, instead of calling them, because I know if I call them, I'm gonna have to have a long conversation.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Well, usually I get off the phone pretty quickly when I call someone. I'm not a big talker.
Yeah, that's true, Jake. You don't talk a lot. But, in general, I like to call people, because I think it adds a more personal touch.
So are you fast at writing the messages with your thumb?
Well, when I first got a cell phone, which was actually only 5 years ago, I was so slow. I thought I would never text message, and I always called people. But then people kept text messaging me, so I felt obligated to try to learn how to text message. So now, I'm pretty fast actually. What about you?
Actually, I have the opposite problem, where when I first got my cell phone, I thought it was so cool and I had to text message all my friends who had one, and I was pretty fast with my thumb then. But it seems like now I don't use it so much, and I have gotten slower actually.
Yeah, I think the text message actually is sort of has to do with your age. For example, I text message a lot and I know people younger than me, for example people in high school. They text message a lot. But I asked my father if he text messages, and guess what he said?
What?
Well, of course, he said he never text messages. He thinks it's very juvenile and unprofessional to text message someone.
Yeah, I can see what he means. It's usually associated with young people and considered pretty informal to text message someone.
Yeah, it is really informal, I think, because you are just using your thumb and you are trying to write fast. Rarely do you ever write dear, or from, or use polite language, right?
Yeah, because you are using your thumb, you have to write the messages as short as you possibly can.
Right, I mean, it sort of makes sense. When I think that I would never text message someone I did not know very well. I only text message people I'm good friends with and comfortable with.
Well, it serves its purpose then, does not it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it is cheaper than calling someone, but you know, other times it's better to call someone, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.